So, let's see, is that light a little bright? I think we're okay. All right, so let me get my disclaimers out of the way, then we'll get right into things here. Again, my name's Chris, and this is the Slightly Rednecked Weekly Live Broadcast. I need to adjust that camera just a little bit. It's cut off the top of my head. And this is pretty much every Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time. I'm here most Thursdays. Occasionally life gets in the way. Something comes up. I can't make it, whatever reason. But most of the time I'm here Thursdays, 7 o'clock Central. I don't have a topic planned out. This is just an opportunity for me to interact with subscribers and viewers and whoever wants to interact with me. And I do my best to answer all the chats that come in on the live chat. So, if you ask a question, if you make a comment, I do my best to respond to it, unless you're talking to each other, which is fine. Talk to each other. The only thing I ask is don't be rude, be family friendly, don't start cussing at people. Let's keep politics and things out of this. Let's focus on the things we can all agree on. Let's try to be friends. That's all I'm asking. We don't have to kick you out. So let's get into it real quick. We got a question to start us off from Logan. And Logan says, I know it's early, because he was early here. He posted that before I even started the video. Says, I know it's early, but do you know how to tell the difference between a mini Rex rabbit and a standard Rex rabbit when they're young? Thank you. Well, boy, that's a tough one. I'm not sure I can answer that for sure. When you mean when they're young, I don't know how young you're talking. If you're talking a couple of weeks old, I think there would be a size difference between that. About 3 weeks old to 4 weeks old, somewhere right around in there. The standard Rex is going to be bigger. Now, how much bigger? I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of expertise with a standard Rex rabbit. I know that they can get a little bit. I mean, they get pretty good size, whereas mini Rexes stay pretty small. So I would think there would be a significant size difference, but I'm afraid I can't really tell you the exact thing, the exact answer to that. If you're looking at rabbits and you're wondering, is it a standard or a mini Rex rabbit? I think I'd hold out until you know for sure. Ask the breeder. I wouldn't buy from a pet store, because chances are it's going to be a mini Rex rabbit if you buy it from a pet store. So I'm sorry I can't help you out with that one. Do the best I can though. But anyway, Mark says, first thumbs up. Well, thank you. And Ordinary Mango, hello to you. Eric, good evening to you. David, hello. And Daniel. Daniel says, my quail stopped laying eggs. Do you know why? Probably light. That's a pretty common question that comes up. The days are getting shorter. We had just the first day of fall here. I don't know where you're located, but most of the United States anyway, the days are starting to get shorter. And quail need about 14 hours a day of light in order to lay eggs on a consistent basis. So if you're not adding an external light, some kind of light source on their hutch that provides them with an extra couple of hours of daylight or an extra couple of hours of light a day, they're going to stop laying. It's just that time of year. So, I mean, that's it. But you can add, sorry, I got distracted there. You can add lights to it, and it doesn't have to be anything special, just something that will extend the twilight, so to speak. A little bit of a light that will light up their cage a little bit for a couple hours in the evening or a couple hours in the morning to make the daylight a little bit longer for them, and they'll continue to lay. All right, Daniel says, I already answered that one. Rob says, prepping for winter, what is your plan? Well, I don't do much to prep for winter. I've got to do some things in the garden, get the old plants out whenever they're done, do some amendments to the soil. I don't have to do that necessarily before winter starts, but before, at least I have at least a month or a little more than a month before spring, before I'm going to be planting into it. I like to get some, compost and things like that in the garden, on the garden beds. As far as the animals go, not much. I'll take down the automatic watering system when we get to a point where we got freezing water or freezing weather. I'll take it down, clean it all up, store it away for winter, switch over to Crocs for the rabbits, and kind of like my feeding containers, little Tupperware style containers with holes cut in them. That's what I water the quail in the wintertime. And then that's it, really. They don't really need anything else. All right, excuse me. I'm already feeling dry. Grab a sip of my soda here and get back to it. Jamie says, hi from Baton Rouge. Well, I'd like to visit there someday too and check that place out. Hello, and thanks for joining. Abigail says, how's your wife? Well, thanks for asking. She's doing pretty well. She had to have, an advanced endoscopy last week, I guess it was, on Friday. And, they go in down your throat, basically, and they had to remove some polyps from her stomach and her esophagus, and they weren't cancerous, thank goodness. They were, I guess, precancerous. The doctor said if we would have left them there, eventually they probably would have been cancerous, but they got them all out. She'll have to go back and do it again probably in 6 months. It may be a kind of a continuing thing. She's got a mutated P10 gene, is what we found out. And the P10 gene is what suppresses tumor growth. So hers does not suppress tumor growth. But for the most part, she's doing pretty well. She's holding up pretty well and healthy as can be. So I'm thankful for that. And thank you for asking. All right. Country Air says, can baby cots have medicated chick starter? Yeah, you can feed a medicated chick starter if you want to. There's no problem with that. There's nothing wrong with it. You can feed it to them. All right, Kim says, hello, Chris. How's your quail? They're doing fine. I lost the 4 to a fox and then put up the electric wire. Haven't lost another one since. All of them seem to be doing really well. All right, I got to turn this camera a little bit. I feel like there we go. I feel like I'm looking off screen whenever I am looking off screen, I guess, but that was weird when I had my hand right up there in the face of it. So, all right, let's get into it. Robert says, my doe finally lifted. Now, both my does should be impregnated. How soon will I see signs, i.e. eating and behavior? You probably won't. Honestly, rabbits don't really display many signs of pregnancy. They tend to just act like normal rabbits. Sometimes you'll see a slight personality change, after a week or two, but it's not very common, honestly. Most of the time, it's really hard to tell if a rabbit's pregnant. So what you can do is check, I don't know, day 25 or 26, somewhere right around in there, getting pretty close to time for them to have their babies. Throw a handful of straw in their cage, and if they pick it up and it's hanging out both sides of their mouth and they walk around the cage with it a lot, that means that's nest building behavior and it's time to go ahead and put the nest box in. But other than that, you don't usually notice any signs of pregnancy with your rabbits. They just don't typically display them. All right, so hopefully I got that answered. Logan says the rabbit was just weaned. You're talking about the Rex rabbit was just weaned. Yeah, at that age, I don't know that you can tell the difference, or at least not for sure know that it's a standard Rex or a mini Rex. All right. Zernifi says, why is my quail sleeping outside? Probably because it's tired would be my guess. I think what you mean is, why is it sleeping outside instead of under cover? That, who knows, it's more comfortable out there for whatever reason. Airflow, maybe that's just where it was when the lights went out. I don't know. Good question. I can't answer all those for you. Sometimes quail do weird things. All right, Tacky Khaki says, do you have goats? Can anyone tell me when I can next breed my goat who had babies in February? I don't have goats. I've actually never raised goats. My neighbor had some. She didn't breed them though. Let's see, I think goats are once a year they go into heat, I think. So you kind of have to wait till the goat goes into heat before you can breed it. When that's going to be, I'm not the expert on goats. I'm not sure I can tell you. All right. Ben says, how long do you keep your quail hens? Mine are about a year old and don't lay too much. Usually about a year and a half to 2 years, somewhere right around in there, and then I'll replace them. Some of them a little sooner, some of them a little later. But that's probably about the average on that. If you're saying they're a year old and they're not laying much, well, that's probably because of the time of year. Again, the day's starting to get shorter, so unless you have light on them, an external light source of some kind and not relying just on the sun, they're going to stop laying right about this time. It's just, we had the first day of fall yesterday, so it's just that time of year, unfortunately. All right, Kyle says, hey, buddy, I just got 7 quail from Kinfolk of Georgia. Hope all goes well on the way home. Awesome. Congratulations on your new, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, now I got distracted by another comment. Congratulations on your new birds. I'm sure they're going to do fine all the way home, and hopefully they do well when they get home, too. All right. Jim Killer says, sup? What's up with you? Jesse says, hey man, I usually don't watch the type of videos you and others produce, but I always come back to you. I really like your personality and the content you kick out. Keep it up. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you like the videos. I do the best I can to try to be informative and help you guys out. And I know I'm not all the time the most entertaining person in the world, but hopefully you find my videos helpful. All right, Daniel says, my quails laid eggs and incubated them. Can I put them with the adult quails? Will there be crossbreeding danger? Yeah, you can put them in with the adults. I mean, yeah, they're going to crossbreed probably. Not when they're babies, not until they're sexually mature will they breed, but there shouldn't be any reason why you can't put them in with your older birds. But hey, that's something if they, and you incubated them. Okay, I thought you meant they incubated them. You incubated them. I was going to congratulate you on having a broody quail, but Yeah, you can. Usually, what I find is when they're ready to move out of the brooder, 2.5, 3 weeks old, somewhere right around in there, I move them in with my adults, and it works out great. It's a great way to introduce them to the adults, or to the flock, I should say. And because you just very seldom get any kind of fighting or picking on them. If you wait till they get sexually mature and then try to add them, you're usually going to get the other birds picking on them, fighting. They can peck their eyes out. They can do a lot of damage to them. So I actually like to add them as they're young, 3 to 4 weeks old. Not much older than 5 weeks for sure. All right. Frank says, hello from Texas. What can I do about flies in my quail coop? I keep it clean, but still has flies bad. Yeah, that's a bad problem. And fortunately, I don't have too big of problems with that. One thing that helps out a lot is I get black soldier fly larvae, black soldier flies anyway, that come and lay eggs usually in the summertime, all the way up till about fall. And both my rabbits and my quail underneath the hutches, not in the birds or in the animals, in their manure. And that does help keep the flies down. It seems to drive off the flies, and they're not really nearly as bad. If you don't have that, you might invest in fly predators. There's a company that sells fly predators. They sell a little bag. It's a little bag of bugs, basically, and you just hang them up right there. They hatch out. And they go after the flies. That's basically it. So that I've heard really good reviews about that. I think that would probably work really well. You could try fly traps and things like that. In my experience, they're minimally effective. They do catch a lot of flies, but they just don't catch them all, and they're messy and they stink, and I just don't like. They're just a pain to me. But fly predators, I think, would be a good option. If I didn't have black soldier flies already, I would look at getting into some fly predators to take care of them. All right, Brad Smith says, hey, Chris, how you and your wife doing? We're doing very well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mark says, somber evening here. Father-in-law passed away this evening. Oh, I'm so sorry for that, Mark. Yeah, look, I tell you what, guys, I know not all of you are Christians, but I feel like I need to pray for Mark here. Hopefully, Mark, you're okay with that. I'm going to say a quick prayer for you and your family, and you guys can pay attention to it, or you can ignore it if you want to. I'm not ashamed to exercise my faith, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So pray along with me if you'd like to. But Father, I thank you for the day that you've brought us today, Lord. I thank you for the friends that we can gather with here in this live broadcast, that we can interact with each other, Lord, that we can be a little bit of support for each other when we need it. And Lord, I specifically pray for Mark and his family, that you would comfort them, that you would lift them up, to help them through this tragedy, that you would give them peace that only you can provide, Lord. We ask that you would keep them focused on you, that you would glorify yourself through this process as always, Lord. And we give you all praise and glory for this day. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So I got that done. So Mark, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. I know that's a tough time. My parents are both gone, so I've been through that myself. My wife's parents are getting older, and it's probably only a matter of time before they're going to deal with that as well. Well, it is only a matter of time, of course. So yeah, I feel for you, buddy, and I hope you hold up there. All right, I'm going to move on. Taco Promotion says, is there any preferred bulb type or set up to encourage laying? Not really. You can use Christmas lights. You can use, fluorescent light. You can use whatever you want for the most part. I like to stick with like a warm light, like a more of a, orangish color or yellowish color light, or a white light myself. I think those probably do best, but that's just my personal preference. I don't think it really matters to the birds that much. It doesn't need to be super bright. Just give them, if you have enough light to read by, it's enough light for the birds. So that's really all you need. All right, Brittany says, do you have a video on winterizing your rabbits? Basically how to keep the water from freezing if you put up tarps to protect them. I've talked about it in video before, what I do to winterize. You don't need to do much, honestly. I have not found a way to keep water from freezing that's economical and convenient for me. People have talked about putting up like a pump that would pump water through the automatic watering lines. The only problem with that is the nipples freeze, where they actually get the water out. So unless you're heating it somehow, I don't know how you'd keep it from freezing. I haven't found a way anyway. What I do is I use rubber Crocs. It's not a big deal. I just go out and water them in the morning, give them about half a bowl of water. They'll get there and drink as much as they can. And then by the time I get home in the evenings, it's usually froze over. And I use the rubber one so I can just knock the ice out of them pretty easily. And then again, fill it up pretty about halfway. Sometimes I don't even knock the ice out of it. I just pour water on top of the ice and fill it up, just a good section. Just give them enough. They'll go and drink as much as they need right then. So I'm watering them in the morning. I'm watering them in the evening. Sometimes another time before I go to bed. But that's all I do. It's really not that big of a deal to keep track of them or to keep watering them. It's not a big problem for me. I do pull the tarps down sometimes in the front. I've got tarps that are long enough to reach the ground, and I'll pull them out at an angle so I can walk underneath them, if that makes sense. Here's the rabbit cages, here's the tarps, and stake them out there. And I'll do that sometimes if there's going to be like a storm or something and a lot of wind, because the wind does shift direction a little bit. My rabbit hutches face north, and our predominant wind during the summer, the fall, the spring is really from the south. It blows south to north. In the wintertime, a lot of times it's blowing north to south. And I don't want the wind blowing directly on the rabbits. So I will do that occasionally, but not all the time. As long as they can get out of the wind, they're fine. That's all they need. They don't need anything else. They got big fur coats on. They're actually more comfortable in the wintertime than they are in the summertime. So there's not a lot to worry about there. All right. I feel like my voice is kind of rough tonight. Hopefully I'm coming across okay. All right, Daniel says, I live in Arizona, so heat and light is good. Were we referring to something else, Daniel, or? Oh, there you are. Says, my quails laid eggs. I incubate them. Can I put them in with? Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So, Arizona, you definitely got heat and light, that's for sure. S8A&G says, hello from Stuart, Florida. Is it necessary to let quail eggs sit for 24 hours if they are your eggs, or is it only for shipped eggs? No, that's a good question. You don't have to let them sit for 24 hours ever, but I like to let them acclimate to room temperature if they've been shipped, let them settle down a little bit. I typically don't, I take eggs sometimes, like I'll save up eggs to incubate, and I'll take that day's eggs and just put them in the incubator. It's fine. You can do it that way if you want to. All right, where are we at here? Flock and Family says, got my first 10 eggs in the incubator, super excited. Awesome, good luck with your hatch. Hopefully it goes well. Eric says, I have a buck and a doe New Zealand cross with Flemish Giant. They're bigger than I expected. I have them in 2x3 cages separate. Will I need bigger cages now or after breeding? 2 foot by 3 foot. So that's 24 inch by 36 inch. That's probably going to be okay. I personally use a 30 by 36 inch cage for my does. I use it for all my rabbits, but specifically my does, especially when they're breeding. But you're probably going to be okay. If you can get a bigger cage, it's not going to hurt, but you don't need to stress about it. All right, Brittany says, my male California will not mount the female. He's 6 months old. Is there anything I can do to encourage him to breed? Boy, that's a tough one. It's not often that you have males that are not enthusiastic about breeding. It's usually the females, the does. Most often, if you have a male that's not ready to breed or not interested in breeding, he may be a little on the young side. 6 months should be old enough to breed. Hang on a second, I hear noises. Make sure my dog's not getting into something. He doesn't usually, but let me just check. Oh, sorry, Max. You're doing fine, buddy. All right, sorry. He's getting into his food bowl, which is fine. He can get into his food bowl. All right, where was I? Okay, 6-month-old buck won't breed. You might have to give him just a little bit more time. But the most common issue with a buck that's not willing to breed is weight. They're usually overweight if that's the case, and especially if he just like sits in the corner whenever you put the dough in there. So you may have to put him on a little bit of a diet, feed him only as many pellets as he's going to clean up within 24 hours. You want him being a little bit on the hungry side when you go to feed him. So when you go to feed him, he should go to the feeder and eat, not just sit back in the cage and, there's food, okay, I'll eat it later, not like that. You want him to be a little bit on the hungry side. That'll help keep him a little bit leaner, may encourage him to breed a little bit better. Other than that, sometimes adding a little bit of light can help, especially if they're in a really dark location, like in the shadows of a building or something all day long. And I mean like more than just shadows, like maybe you got tarps pulled down and it just stays pretty dark inside their hutches all day. It might help to give them a little bit of light, 12, 13 hours a day, something like that. All right. Sorry, I can't give you a better answer on that one, Brittany. I would say just give him a week or two, try again, see how he does, and then go from there. All right, Garth says, question on quail feed. Some people say to lower the protein once they are adults and laying, and some people say leave them on high protein starter for their entire life. What's your opinion? I feed mine protein, high protein chicken, or not chicken, high protein game bird starter. It's a 30% protein, and I feed that their entire lives, and it works out really, really well. I think it works out great, especially like when your birds go into molt and stuff like that. They really need a higher protein feed during that time anyway. I'm sure they're going to do fine on a slightly lower protein. They would do just fine on that, but I do find I get better results with a high protein game bird feed. That's just my experience with it anyway. All right. Brody says, hi, back for another live. Thanks, Brody, for joining. I appreciate that. Hey, Rhonda's here. Rhonda says, hello, hope all is well. Been really busy over here. Boy, I know that feeling. It's been incredibly busy here, but I luckily found time to come and join the live broadcast tonight. All right, Bubba, good to see you again. Says, hey, Chris, got a question. My Jumbo Brown's dad has laid and I incubated your eggs. What? My Jumbo Brown's dad as laid. I'm guessing there's some auto complete stuff in there. Let me read this comment once or twice, see if I can make it out. Okay. Oh, let's see if I can get this. Okay. Got a question for you. All my Jumbo Browns laid eggs, I guess it is, and I incubated the eggs. I have done 4 batches, and yesterday I had some hatch. I had 18 brown and 4 solid whites. Is that common? Yeah, Jumbo Browns only, and when you hatched them, you got 4 of them that were solid white birds. I wouldn't say that's really common. Chances are they've been those birds have been mixed bred at one time with like either Texas A&M or an English white or something like that. So they had recessive traits for it. And if you have a recessive trait, like a bird's maybe the brown is the dominant trait. So if you breed a brown, a pure Jumbo Brown with a Texas A&M, for example, you're going to get all brown chicks out of that bird. But those birds will have a recessive trait. And if you bred 2 of those birds together, because they have the recessive trait, then theoretically you would have about 25% roughly of birds that would come out all white, because they would get both a recessive gene from the mother and the father. Whereas the other ones would get a dominant gene from the mother, a recessive gene from the father, or a recessive gene from the mother and a dominant gene from the father. Again, it's not perfect science, but that's roughly what you get from that. So chances are they've just got that in their bloodline somewhere. I wouldn't say it's incredibly uncommon, but it's not very common at all, really. If it was me, I'd probably just eat those birds. I wouldn't continue to breed those. Not your Jumbo Browns, but the white ones, because I just I didn't like the white birds when I had them. You can't just look at them and tell what gender they are. They tend to be more aggressive. Now, they may not be when they're coming from your Jumbo Browns, but I did notice that with mine, so I don't like to keep them around. I like the Jumbo Browns better. All right, Rhonda says, got 4 dozen quail eggs and 36 hatched, and got 3 dozen chicken eggs, and they are hatching right now. Awesome. Lots of birds going in your place, so good. Congratulations and good luck with all your chickens that are hatching right now, too. All right, That's Life says, your videos have helped me. Thank you. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for watching them. All right, Dixie Living says, remind me, do you change your feed when you move them out? Black soldier fly larva. I'm sorry, Dixie, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Remind me, do you change your feed when you move them out? And then you say black soldier fly larva. So I don't know if you're asking me about the black soldier fly larva or the birds that I change feed on. I'll answer, I guess, both of those questions. First, the black soldier fly larva, they just come. They're just naturally occurring. I don't do anything for them. I don't feed them. I don't do anything. They're just there. So that answers that question. The second one, maybe you're asking if when I move the birds out of the brooder box into the grow out pen, do I change their feed? No. They get game bird starter, high protein from the day they hatch to the day they get butchered, or whatever happens. That's it. That's all I feed all my birds all the time. And it's super easy. It's a crumble feed. You don't have to grind it up for the chicks or anything. You just put it in there, they eat it. All right, Robert says, how come no one is hitting the lithiums up? Chris is putting out some good info. Hitting the lithiums up. I think you mean the like button or something, probably. These auto completes or auto corrects are kind of a pain sometime. I think that's probably what you're asking. Well, thank you for that kind comment. I appreciate that. All right. Miguel, hey, Chris. Hello from Louisiana. Have you ever tried keeping quails in a natural environment? I'm trying to add quail-safe plants in my coop and wondering if anybody has any luck. I've never actually done that. What you're talking about is more like on like an aviary style setup where the birds are, in a sense, free roaming. No, I've never actually done that. I don't think it would be too difficult though. As far as quail safe plants, I don't. I think it would probably be easier to find out what plants are not safe for quail than to try to get a complete list of quail safe plants. I think just about anything you grow, that could be used for food for us would probably be okay. Stay away from nightshades like tomatoes and peppers and potatoes and those things. The plants themselves are what do you call it? They're toxic. Good grief, I had a hard time there. But other than that, I think there's quite a few plants that would be just fine to keep around them. And I don't know that they would eat plants that are not safe for them. So I don't know that that's a big concern. But I haven't tried it myself, so I can't really give you an exact answer on that one. Interesting though. I mean, it's probably worth a shot. Give it a try and see how well it does. The thing I'd be concerned about mostly is just deterring predators. If they're on the ground in a natural environment, so to speak, you're going to have to do some, make the cage a little bit safe to keep the predators out. Because especially if you're just using something like hardware cloth or, God forbid, chicken wire. I mean, a dog will go right through chicken wire, and most things will. And even hardware cloth, they can get through that pretty easily as well. It's not super sturdy, so you're probably going to have to do something more to make make the cage proof, predator proof for them. All right. George says, I just got started in quail now. I got a neighbor started and all doses hatch. We sure do like it now. We got a cabinet incubator. Okay. And all doses hatch. I got lost on that last part, George. I'm sorry. I got a neighbor started and all does is hatch. All he does is hatch, maybe. We sure do like it. So I guess you're getting in with your neighbor and you guys are hatching eggs together. So you got a cabinet incubator. That's all. You can hatch a bunch of birds in the cabinet incubator. So yeah, it's nice to have a neighbor that's kind of into the same things you are, and you can share, you can talk about it, and all those kinds of things. It's good to be connected with your neighbors. Just be friendly with them. It's good to have good neighbors around. Luckily, I do. My neighbors on really all sides of me are pretty friendly, pretty nice people. I know them, and we all get along. So that really makes life a lot easier. All right, Taco Promotion says, thanks so much for your content. I was inspired so much by you and Mark from Self-Sufficient Me. I know who that is. Says, P.S. What types of plants can quail eat? Oh, you're asking me the same question. They can eat a lot of different kinds of plants. Most grasses are going to be fine for them. Clover, plantain, those are kind of just wild things that grow. That's going to be fine for them. Leaf lettuce you want to stay away from, but other green spinach, not leaf lettuce, iceberg lettuce you would want to stay away from, but other greens like spinach, probably like bok choy or kale or any of those kinds of things would be fine for them as well. There's a whole bunch of them, and I don't know the whole list, so I can't answer it all for you. Hopefully that gives you a couple ideas anyway. All right. Where are we at? Chato says, should I breed my 6.5-month-old rabbits? You can. I'm assuming they're not like Flemish Giant. Flemish Giant, you need to wait a little longer. But for the most part, any kind of meat rabbit, your New Zealand whites, your Californias, all those, they're ready to breed right at about 6 months. So you should be okay to go ahead and breed them if you want to. All right, Danny says, I hatched out 65 of the 120 from My Shire Farms, Jumbo Wilds. They've been in the brooder for 3 days now. How can I switch from paper towels to wood chips? Amen, by the way. Well, thank you for that. Where was I going? Okay, how do you switch? I think the easiest way would be to take the paper towels out and put a bunch of wood chips in. I mean, I don't know if it sounds like a smart aleck answer. I don't mean it that way necessarily, but it shouldn't be that difficult to do. Just put wood chips in there. They're going to be fine. I don't personally like wood chips in there. They tend to, I'm sorry. Got a text from work and I was checking to make sure it wasn't something I needed to take care of. I'm just included on it. It's okay. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, I don't really like wood chips because they tend to peck and eat just about everything, and I don't like them eating wood chips. Stay away from cedar, by the way. Don't use cedar in your brooder. Other things are okay to use, but I personally, when I have them in a smaller box, I like paper towels. If I've got them in a bigger box, I really like hay. Hay works really, really well. But yeah, if you want to use wood chips, it's okay. Use them. All you gotta do is take the paper towels out, put wood chips in. That's it. If you have another box to move them to, that's probably the easiest way. If you have like, I used to brood them in tubs, and it's a lot easier to just set up the new tub, put all your quail in it, and then go clean out the old one. That's the easiest way to do it. But you can do it however you want to. If you want to just scoot them to one side, put a cardboard or something like that in there to keep them over on that side, fill it up with wood chips, scoot them over to the other side, put the cardboard in there, and fill the other side up with wood chips. That you could do that. All right, where are we at here? Whoa, I scrolled too far. All right, Cheto says, I have a rabbit that is due today. Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well. Logan says to Brittany Hutchison, your buck is likely overweight. How much do you feed him? I think that was the buck that didn't want to breed. That's probably right. So Ricky says, what do you do with all your quail eggs? I have about 20 hens and get more eggs than I can eat. Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes I just end up throwing them away. But I do share with the neighbors when I can or when they want them. And that's about it, really. I share with people that want them. I got family members sometimes like, hey, you want some eggs? Here. Take them to work, give them out to people at work, all those kinds of things. All right. Dawn says, thank you, Chris, for taking the time to bless that family. This is one of the reasons I like your channel so much. You're one of us. Well, thank you. And Ratchet, I think it is. Ratchet says, hello from Morocco. That'd be another nice place to visit. Thanks for joining. Michael says, hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I'm sure you already covered it tonight, but what is the news with the fox? Have a great night from Big Mike and from Big Mikey and the little Mikey from Long Island. Actually, I haven't talked about the fox much. I mean, a little bit. We did talk about it a little bit, but yeah, nothing. He's gone. He hasn't come back. I strung up the hot wire around there. I got the one video that one night, but there was nothing on it. It was just blank video. So I don't know if maybe he came to check it out, hit that electric fence, took off, and didn't get caught in the camera. But since then, I haven't even had a camera trigger. So nothing's happened. He's gone. He hasn't come back. So far, so good. All right, Pierre says, hi from Antarctica. Says, how is the side business going? God bless you. Oh, thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate that. Yeah, the side business is actually going pretty well. For you guys that don't know, I've got a day job, and it's a good job. I work for a great company. I like it. I don't plan on leaving my company. So I run the YouTube channel on the side a little bit, and then I've also started up initially I had planned it to be just a real estate, photography, videography kind of business where I do photos and videos of houses that are for sale. I got a good friend that's a real estate agent, so it was a pretty easy entry into it. But honestly, real estate agents don't have the budgets to pay very much, so you end up working for 8 hours, shooting and editing videos or pictures or whatever for $100. It's just, it's a lot of work for not much money. And I'm not looking to get rich off this, but still, it's, and I'm not against, I still do real estate because there's just not a lot of work. It's just every couple of months I'll get a real estate house, or I'll get a house to shoot, or to do a video of, or something like that. So I've kind of branched out a little bit. I now do 360 virtual tours. I'm working with wedding venues and things like that. I've got a shoot coming up Saturday. I've got to go shoot a video for a building that's getting ready. They're looking for tenants, so I'm going to shoot a promotional video for them. I'm going to do a virtual tour for a wedding venue on Monday, I think. I've got another organization that wants me to shoot some interviews for them, so it's actually going pretty well. I'm a little worried it may get too busy here before long, but that's not a bad thing. All right, Gingerbeard says, I seem to have a constant 30% hatch rate. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I feel like the incubator thermostat is wrong because I have it around 99.5 to 100%. I think it means 100 degrees. Yeah, you're probably on the right track there. That's the biggest problem usually if you have a low hatch rate is your incubator thermometer, or thermostat, I should say. Get a couple of non-digital thermometers. Make sure you can calibrate them. If you're using one that's like a dial thermometer, like a meat thermometer, make sure it goes down below 100 degrees before you buy it. It should have a nut on the back of it you can turn to calibrate it. And then look up how to calibrate a thermometer. It's it's not that difficult, but it's complex enough for me to try to explain it on this video. Calibrate them. Make sure they're accurate before you do this. Put them both in there. I always say get two. That way you just know. I mean, if you've got one in there and the incubator reads one temperature and the thermometer reads another, then you don't know which one's right. If you've got two thermometers, then you should be able to, between the three of them, figure out what the actual temperature is. And you may have to adjust your temperature a little bit. It's probably, reading a little bit low, or it's probably incubating a little bit lower than what it says it is, or maybe a little bit higher than what it says it is, one way or the other, and that can make a big difference on your hatch rate. So I would start there, check that. That's probably your issue. All right, Ben says, Ben again, I'm in Manitoba, Canada. It gets negative 30 degrees Celsius for about 3 months. Can quails survive that? Yes, they can. Give them a windbreak, give them ability to get out of the wind. Make sure you water them a couple of times a day, give them water to drink, and they should do just fine. All right, where are we at here? Rhonda says, my quail are almost 3 weeks old now, and I'm so excited to have quail again. We did have some die due to the water soaking the brooder. Yeah, that'll happen. But I'm happy with the 27 that were left, and left with will. There's probably more to that somewhere, but I don't see it right now. So, yeah, that happens. Sometimes you get birds that get in the water, they get soaked, and when they get wet, it's very hard for them to stay warm. You're almost always going to lose them. Sorry that happened, but glad to hear the rest of them are doing well, and I'm glad that you got your quail back. Gingerbeard says not percent but temp. I knew what you meant. It's all right. Jackie's Foul Talk says, I have at least 5 hens of laying age. Only one was laying, and now she stopped too. I'm not sure what's wrong. It's probably the daylight. We've talked about that a couple of times already. I don't know if you heard it or not, so if I'm repeating something you already heard, I apologize. But yesterday was the first day of fall. The days are starting to get shorter, and that signifies to the birds, stop laying. Unless you've got some kind of external light, you can get the daylight up to 14 hours a day. They're not going to lay in the fall and the wintertime. They're going to quit laying until spring. But if you can add a light, get the light up to 14 hours a day, you're going to have a much better chance of keeping them laying pretty consistently. That's the biggest issue. The other thing is like stress factors. If you've recently moved them, changed touches with them, something like that, they'll stop laying, but they'll pick back up in a week or two. So hopefully that answers that. All right. Michael says, just an idea. You should release the audio from the weekly live stream as a podcast. It should be easy enough. And as an avid podcast listener, I can tell you there are zero quail podcasts out there. That's a thought. I might look into doing that at some point. Who knows? Oh, sorry. Got to grab another drink. Brittany says, sorry, phone died. I'll rewatch to see if you answered my questions. I think I did, Brittany, but I don't remember what your question was. What was your question up there about was that the one about the rabbit that wouldn't breed? Oh, about winterizing the rabbits. Was that the one? Hopefully. Okay, I'll run through it one more time just in case. Yeah, I don't do much to winterize my rabbit hutch. I do pull the tarps down sometimes. My rabbit hutch sits like this. I can pull the tarps down all the way to the ground, kind of like that, so I still have room to walk underneath them. And that's mostly just to provide them a windbreak because our wind shifts from the south, usually in the summertime, to the north, and the north wind will blow directly on the rabbits. So I give them a way to get out of the wind, give them a windbreak, and that's about it. Take down the automatic watering system and start watering them out of crocks. I have not found a way to keep water from freezing, so I use rubber crocks so I can just knock the ice out of it pretty easily and just bring water out to them a couple times a day. That's it, really. There's not much else to it. You can kind of listen to it later if you want to, and I went into a little bit more detail, but there's not much more to it. All right. Ratchet says, here 342 days sunny. I have 8 quails. So yeah, if you live near the equator, you're probably not going to have the problems that the rest of us do where, the days in the wintertime drop down. The shortest days are, oh my gosh, 8 hours or something like that, 9 hours of light for the shortest days of winter. Luckily, that's only, a week or two of winter. It's not the whole winter. All right. Brandon says, hi, I have a question. Why is my doe that had babies about 2 weeks ago showing signs of wanting to breed again? And she only had 2 babies. Good question. I'm not sure I can answer that one, honestly, but who knows? There's many reasons rabbits do all kinds of crazy things. All right. Buster says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Ratchet says, larva, soldier, black soldiers, Organic protein. Yeah, black soldier fly larvae, you're right. Yeah, it is organic protein. You can feed that back to your birds. They like it. My birds are a little iffy about eating though. They're almost too big for them to get down. But they will go after them. They'll try. They just don't do a very good job eating them. You usually pick them up and sling them around. And they end up slinging them out of the cage. But they can't eat them, and it is free protein, like you said. Bubba says, I'm sorry about that. I'm not got a good connection. That's all right, Bubba. Don't worry. I understand. I'm not picking on you when I say I'm having a hard time making it out or something. I understand completely. Trust me. If I was in here typing instead of talking, there'd be all kinds of typos in there, way worse than what you guys make. Ratchet says Jumbo is a hybrid. Well, I guess you're probably right. Jumbo is a hybrid, probably, to isolate the gene, the Jumbo gene, and to get them bigger. All right. Buster says, do you feed extra calcium? No, I don't feed extra calcium. You probably don't need to. Let me check the time. Oh, my goodness. 20 minutes left. We're flying through this, aren't we? You probably don't need to feed extra calcium. They only need about 1.5 to 2% of their diet to be calcium. And if you're feeding a game bird starter, it's probably got that already. So you don't really need to add any extra calcium. If you feel like you do, don't mix it in with their feed. Put it in a separate container, put it on the side, give them, they can eat as much as they want. They won't overeat the calcium. But if you mix it in with their feed, they're going to get more than they need probably. And more calcium is just as bad most of the time as not enough calcium. So you don't want to mix it in. But I don't find it necessary. I never add extra calcium. All right, Robert says, good evening to you all. It's me, Big Frenchie from Quebec. Thanks for joining. I appreciate that. Trapper says, hey, buddy, how cold can rabbits handle before I have to add a heat lamp? It gets sub-zero here for weeks in the winter. They can handle incredibly cold. I don't think you'll ever need to add a heat lamp. I live in Southwest Missouri, and it doesn't get nearly as cold as other places, but we do get down below 0 Fahrenheit, not the wind chill, the actual temperature. And I've had babies born in 0-degree weather and do just fine, no problems whatsoever. So it's you really shouldn't have to worry about it as long as they're not in the wind, they're fine. All right, Brittany says, what pellet brand do you feed your rabbits? I feed a pellet brand from a local feed store. I don't even remember what brand it is, but I get it from a local feed store, so it's kind of a local thing. I don't think the brand is that important. If you've got a feed store that sells rabbit feed, that's the place to get it. You're going to get it much cheaper than going to a big box store like Tractor Supply or Outwoods or wherever else you might buy that stuff. All right. Robert says, my rabbits love moringa, easy to grow, and is a superfood. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to look that up. Thanks for the suggestion. All right. Taco Promotion says, would you recommend ordering eggs from My Shower? I think that means My Shire. And My Shire Farms or JMF? Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to go wrong with that. I don't know if JMF Farms is still selling to individuals. I thought they were only selling to supplying farms and things like that. But either way, JMF's great bloodlines. I think My Shire may have JMF bloodlines, but I'm not 100% sure on that. You'll have to verify that. But either way, you're not going to go wrong ordering from either one of those. You're going to get great birds, great genetics, and they're both great suppliers. So yeah, you're going to have a great success with that. All right. Aaron says, hey, Chris, I'm from North Carolina. Was hoping you could give advice on a brooding chicks in an outdoor coop during winter. Thank you all for all the advice you give us. Oh, thank you for all the advice you give us. Brooding chicks in an outdoor coop during winter. Boy, that's a tough one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you're going to be able to brood chicks outside in the winter. You're going to have to make sure it's insulated, that you've got plenty of heat. Keep them warm. They need to be about 100 degrees. 100 degrees, I don't know where you're at and what your winters are like exactly. 100 degrees isn't hard to reach when the days are, 60, 70 degrees. But when the days are 10, 15 degrees, even with a heat lamp directly on the box, it's tricky to get up to 100 degrees sometimes. And you have to make sure that light doesn't go out, that heat lamp or heat source doesn't go out. So I don't know. I don't think I'd brood them outside in the wintertime. I think I would do it inside if it were me. A little bit more controlled environment. But that's just my opinion. All right. Ratchet says, quails like more sand. And then a couple of words, I'm not sure what those are. Ponicum and Mombasa. I don't know what that means, but yes, sand. They love sand. You're right. I find I put sand boxes in there. They have a great time going through there, and they lay their eggs mostly in the sand, which makes the eggs are a lot cleaner. So it's a win-win for me. All right, Brody says I have Rex New Zealand Cross Rabbit kits, and they're about 3 pounds at 8 weeks. I think they're worth the wait because I personally really like these standard Rex rabbits. Great temper and a decent size. Yeah, Rex rabbits make a good meat rabbit, actually. 3 pounds at 8 weeks is a little on the small side, but it's not bad. So it's, if you like the Rex rabbits, they have great fur. They can be a dual purpose rabbit. You can use them for meat and fur, and they're a good one. All right, Brittany says he gets a cup a day. He. Oh, your rabbit that doesn't want to breed gets a cup a day. Yeah, you got to sometimes tell me this because I've answered 100 questions or comments between when we last talked. So I know you're right on that conversation, but it's lost me by now. So I'm sorry. I'm caught up with you now, though. He gets a cup a day of pellets and grass hay. He doesn't seem to be overweight. He may just be a little bit on the young side. You may give him a week or two, a couple of weeks, and then try again and see. 6 months is right about the time they usually start breeding. Are you sure he's not a doe? I know that sounds silly, but I mean, stranger things have happened. A lot of times you look at a rabbit and you think, oh, that's a buck or that's a doe or whatever, and then you come to find out later, no, it's not. It happens. It happens so often that there is a term for it called the sex change fairy. It's incredibly common that people mistake one gender for another and don't find out until much, much later. So it may be something to just double check and make sure. All right. Danny says, when, not how. What? When, not how, what, Danny? I'm sorry, I'm lost. Let me read the rest of this. Maybe that makes sense. Okay. When, not how. LOL. How old are they before you switch from paper towels to hay? Oh, okay. Now it makes more sense. I was wondering why you were asking me, how do you switch? Okay. I put them on hay right from day one. I mean, if they come out of the incubator and go into the brooder box full of hay, you don't have to worry about putting them on paper towels for a couple of days or anything. The only ones I've ever lost in the brooder box are, well, I shouldn't say the only ones, but for the most part, the only ones I've lost in the brooder box, from day one are ones that got into the water and got wet. Other than that, they do just fine in the hay. All right, Bob says red spectrum light makes chickens lay more eggs. It is the same for quail. I haven't actually tested that out, so I can't tell you for sure that that's true or if that's just an old wives' tale. Try it out and see. But I can't imagine it would make that big of a difference. I keep white lights on them, and they lay an egg a day per bird for the most part. So they can't lay any more eggs than that. I don't know how it would make a difference, but try it out and see. Who knows? Maybe it will. All right, Miguel says, should have been clear. Hello from Los Angeles. LL, no worries. Backyard is secure. No real problem with predators. What are we talking about? You're talking about raising them naturally, I think. So, okay, no, that's fine. Don't worry. I'm sure you've thought of that. It was just something to think about. I don't have personal experience doing it. Let us know how it goes if you do, though. All right. Ratchet says more egg equals larva black soldier flies. 2 floor larva. I'm sorry, Ratchet. I'm not sure what you're telling me. But I think what you're saying is if you feed black soldier fly larva to your birds, you're going to get more eggs out of them. I don't know if you'll get more eggs out of them, but yeah, it does help with the protein levels in the eggs. And birds that eat a lot of bugs and things like that, their eggs do taste better. So there's that. In my opinion, anyway, they do. All right, Chato says, what is a good price for a rabbit? Oh boy, that's a tough question. It depends on the rabbit. And I mean, it depends on, are you getting a pedigree rabbit? Are you getting something special, or is it just a meat mutt? There's a lot of variation in there. Around here, just regular old meat rabbits tend to sell for maybe $10 each. So that'd be a good price for them. Sometimes you can get pedigree, really specialized bloodline rabbits or something like that, and they may go for $35 or $40 each. Or if you're looking at like pet rabbits, mini lops, those kinds of things, they can go for much higher than that. But a good meat rabbit, you can expect to spend between $10 to $25. I personally wouldn't skimp on buying a good meat rabbit. Get one that's got a good bloodline. if you can find a 4-H group in your area, you might become friends with them, because a lot of times they're breeding for, they're breeding rabbits, and they're doing it for like state fairs and those kinds of things. And the meat rabbits that they breed are usually really high quality meat rabbits. And whenever their kid's done with 4-H or whatever, then they just want to get rid of those meat rabbits. And even if you have to spend $25 or $30 on the rabbit, you're going to have much better luck with them usually than you will with a $10 rabbit. You're going to get much better growth rates out of the kits, all those things. So it's worth it, in my opinion, to spend a little bit more for your breeders. All right. Excuse me. I'm very dry tonight. And it's warm in here. I'm sweating if you guys see me keep doing this. You can probably see my head shining. All right, Don Cook says, are mercury thermometers a good option for incubators? I mean, yeah, if you want to put in a mercury thermometer in there to verify the temperature, yeah, it's fine. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I'm not sure how you could run your incubator off a mercury thermometer. There may be a way to do that, but I'm not sure how to do that. But yeah, just to use it to verify your temperature in your incubator, it's a great option. All right. Ratchet says organic food made in a home incubator. In the freezer, egg quail is small. Okay, the quail has a small egg. You're feeding them organic food made in a home incubator in the freezer, and the quail eggs are small, maybe. So, well, boy, that's a hard one. I'm not sure if you're asking me, like, why are the eggs small? You're feeding them organic feed. That may be part of the reason right there, depending on what your feed source is. If you're just feeding them nothing but one thing, then that's not the best diet for your quail. If you're feeding them, they need a good variety. They need both insect and vegetables in their diet. And that will help with their egg production and the size of their eggs a little bit too. Hopefully I got that right. I'm not sure if I did. Rhonda says, we'll be hatching more in the spring. Sorry, kids got my attention. That's all right. We don't know when you're paying attention, when you're not paying attention. You don't have to apologize. It's okay. All right. Michael says, good night, everybody. Have a great night. See you next week. Take care, Michael. We'll see you next week. All right. Gingerbeard says, my rabbits all started getting sick and dying. I removed all the kits and took my stock down to breeders only, and everyone seems to be okay except for one. I get the occasional sneeze yet. What should I do? That's a tough one. It sounds like, you've definitely got something going around. And what it is, it's hard to say for sure. Snuffles is a pretty common thing that comes to mind when you say they're sneezing. But snuffles can be caused by many different things. It can be bacterial or it can be viral. So if it's viral, you just got to let it run its course. If it's bacterial, you can treat it with antibiotics. I'm afraid there's no easy way to know without going to a vet and getting them tested. So what I think I would do is, if you have a rabbit that's sneezing, isolate it from the rest of your group for a while. Make sure it's not sick before you, excuse me, again, make sure it's not sick before you bring it back in, around the other rabbits. I think that's about the best I could do. You might give it a little bit of time too. Hopefully it's not something serious. I'm sorry I can't give you best advice on that, but it sounds like you got a pretty good idea of what to do already. You narrowed it down to just a few rabbits. I would, again, isolate that one that's sneezing, get it away from your other rabbits, make sure it doesn't have something that's contagious to them. But other than that, I don't know that there's much you can do. You can try to get some antibiotics from a local farm supply store or something like that, and give them all a round of antibiotics just in case it is something bacterial that might treat it. But if it's viral, there's not much you can do. So, all right, USMC Water Rescue says, did the fox come back? Give him a little shock yet. How's the one-legged quail doing? No, the fox did not come back. I don't know if he got shocked or not. I haven't caught it on video. I've still got the game cam out there, but he's not been back. So that solved the problem. The one-legged quail's actually doing pretty well, hopping around on one leg. So I'll probably wait till that grows out and then, process him. I won't keep him that way forever, but right now he's doing fine. All right. Whoa, scrolled too fast. Ratchet says, in the freezer incubator, 1,500 eggs. So you're incubating 1,500 eggs. That's a huge amount of eggs. Hope they hatch. Jeff says, do you have any quail that sound like frogs or large crickets? Sometimes they make a little bit of a chirping sound that I could see maybe thinking that sounds like a frog or a cricket. But no, I don't, not on a regular basis now. All right, Michael says the light hours are about 12 a day in Panama. So yeah, that's, I don't think we're down. We're right about the same right now. I think we're probably about 12 hours a day right now. My rabbit had, oh, this is from Rhonda. My rabbit had the 11 babies. All of them lived. I'm shocked. Shocked. Yeah, I would be too, actually. That's really good. 11 rabbits is a big litter for them to take care of. Usually, if you have a litter that big, you usually lose one or two of them. But to have them all make it, that's great. That's a great mother. She's got good mothering instincts, so I'd hold on to her. All right, Marie says, got quail that just started hatching today. Well, congratulations. Hope they're doing well. Oh, Ratchet, you're saying you're incubating in an old fridge. I bet that makes a great incubator. Rhonda says, we're thinking of keeping all the doe, the females. Sorry, my phone is doing dumb stuff. That's okay. My phone does dumb stuff all the time. Let's see. Aaron says, also, what's your opinion on using reptile heat lamps for brooding? Oh, and by the way, keeping the does. Yeah, if you want more breeders, that's probably a good one to do that with. If she can raise 11 babies successfully, then chances are her daughters are going to have some good mothering instincts too, hopefully. All right, Aaron says, also, what's your opinion on using reptile heat lamps for brooding? The lamp at TSC is a bit large, and the 250-watt bulb seems overkill. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm not sure if the reptile heat lamp is going to get, I think you're talking about like those ceramic heat emitters probably. Maybe not, but I don't know if it's going to get warm enough. It depends on the size of your box, honestly. If your box is a smaller box, like a small tub, it's probably going to be fine. If it's a bigger box, a lot more room in it, you may need a little bit bigger heat source for them. But you'll just have to test it out and see. Rhonda says, we ended up with 8 females, but we're not sure if we should keep all 8. We would be able to breed in January, and with our large family, this might help us. But we're still thinking about it. Yeah, that's a lot. 8 rabbits is a lot to breed all the time. That's a lot of babies you're going to end up with. But hey, if it works out for you, if you need the food, it's a great way to do it. All right, Brandon, how common is it for a doe to abandon its babies? It's actually really, really rare. It's what's not uncommon is that when they first have the babies, they act like they pay no attention to them. It's like you would think they're not taking care of them at all. But usually they feed them when nobody's around. They just feed them once or twice a day, and that's when nobody's around. As far as absolutely abandon them, it's really, really rare for that to happen. And I would say that if you have a rabbit that's doing that, if she's a first-time mom, maybe. But if it's a common thing, if it happens 2 times in a row, or worse yet, 3 times in a row, get rid of her, get another rabbit. That just shows very bad mothering instincts. I personally never had a rabbit that abandoned her babies. All right, Ratchet says, incubator in a fridge with cheap things. Tinker with an incubator and homemade. Okay, so you made the incubator yourself with cheap things out of an old refrigerator. So that's great. I'm glad it's working well for you. That sounds fantastic. Michael says, I put my first time 6-month doe in with my buck, and she kept trying to breed him. I pulled her out, rechecked to make sure she was not a he. Does this happen often? It happens sometimes. It's just a dominant behavior. Sometimes does get, they're very territorial in their own cages, and sometimes that carries over when you put them in a new space, and they're just trying to be dominant and dominate the other rabbit. Chances are she'll get over that pretty quick. What you may want to do is move her a little bit further away. If she's like in a cage right next to his, you might move her a couple of cages over, or put him in a different cage and take her to him in the new cage, and that might help a little bit too. All right. Will says, good evening, Chris and community. Latest hatch started yesterday. It's going go for about a week. We added eggs daily, so the first 5 or 6 days. Oh, it's going to go for about a week because you added eggs daily for the first 5 or 6 days. Well, glad it started already. Good luck with the rest of it. I hope it works out well. Hopefully you get a good hatch rate out of that. All right, where are we at here? 1991 says, hey, Chris, please help. Normally I get 10 eggs a day. Now I only get 9 eggs. Do you know what happened? I guess I need to talk about this in a video sometime soon. This is the common question for tonight is, why did my quail start laying eggs? First of all, you were getting 10 eggs a day, now you're getting 9. It's probably not time to panic just yet. Sometimes birds just take a break for whatever reason, but the most likely issue is the days are getting shorter, the amount of light has started to drop a little bit, and that's a signal for the birds to stop laying eggs. So unless you have an external light source that you can raise the daylight up to 14 hours a day, they're going to stop laying in the fall and the wintertime. It's just the way it is. So that would be my first guess. Add some light, just get a fluorescent light or, whatever, a solar light or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just add a light, light up their hutch for a couple hours a day to extend the daylight, and they'll probably start laying again like crazy. All right. Tuna Town says, hello from West Virginia. Just started raising quail. Birds are three weeks old, and I enjoy your channel. Awesome. Well, thank you for watching, and congratulations on your new birds. What are we doing? Oh, it's time, isn't it? All right. Oh, my goodness. There's a whole lot of comments there I did not get to tonight. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I got to wrap this up, go spend some time with the family before I got to get up and go to work in the morning. So thank you guys for joining tonight. I appreciate it. I got to quit looking at the comments because I'll get wrapped up in there and I'll spend all night here. And I can't do that. I got to go to bed here in about an hour and a half. So, again, thanks for joining tonight, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining every Thursday night, hanging out with me. I appreciate that, too. So, God bless each and every one of you, and hopefully we will see you guys again next week. Take care.